It's pop-up day. Yay! Y'all, this morning has been a little rough. Not even gonna lie. I dropped my whole entire jewelry box onto the floor in the restroom. And I had to pick everything up. And my pair of diamond earrings that my husband got me for, I think, our first Christmas together married, they were gone. I was like, where are they? I can't find them. They fell in the trash can. So I had to like dig out all the trash out of the trash can. It was a whole thing. Yeah, this is so informal. So if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Hey girl. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into the day. Let's get into this market. Wait, let's get into this fit too. So I did my hair in like a half up, half down, like a little slick. And I got my pearl earrings. I ended up making my earring real quick like y'all can see. And then I got my butterfly claw clip without the little studs on it. Girl, it's time to go. Hey y'all, so I'm all set up. It's about like 11:12, so I went a little bit over, but it is so windy, y'all, and I hope I don't get copyrighted because of this music. But anyways, I'm excited. I feel like my tent is pretty solid and standing on its own, but I feel like I should take down this wall because, girl, I might blow away. To improvise here, I had to put some tape to stick it down because I don't know how to like tie it down yet, and this is a little janky, but I had to do wire up there. The event has been really slow so far. Yeah, a lot of people are complimenting me about like my products and stuff, but I feel like a lot of people didn't come out with money to spend, which is okay. I understand it. I'm using this to like warm my hand. If you ever breastfed, you know what this is. So yeah, I didn't want to let this go to waste, so I'm using this to warm my hands. Hey y'all, it's Tuesday. My pop-up was on Sunday and I've had some time to just sit down and reflect. So now I kind of want to do just like a reflection with y'all to just run through how everything went for the day. Then I'm going to get into whether or not big pop-ups are worth it or not, or big craft fairs, markets, whatever you want to call it, if they're worth it or not. Okay, I want to start off by saying, like, y'all can see that it was a cold day. I feel like cold days equate to less people coming out. Like, no one wants to be out in the cold, if we're being honest. So the high for Sunday was 62 degrees. But for majority of the day, it was like in the high 50s, but with the wind and just no sun at all, I think it felt like it was 56 degrees. But honestly, it felt like it was a little bit colder, especially for vendors who were just like out there standing or sitting. So it felt pretty cold, not gonna lie about that one. So with it being the first cold day of fall, really, Is it even fall? When is the first day of fall? When is the first day of fall? I don't know. Anyways, it was pretty slow, and the event started at 11. I didn't get my first sale until around 12. And after that first sale, they started just coming in, which was great. But that was like the only like hot pocket of the day for the most part. Like that 12 to maybe 1:20, it was really busy. Like I had like a steady flow of traffic, and I think I got probably around, I sold about 10, no, I got about 10 sales within like that hour time frame. I might even gotten a little bit more, but that was like my busiest time frame, like that 12 to like 1:15, 1:20ish. The remainder of the day, it was just kind of like a trickle of traffic, like here and there. And because the event was kind of like shop and grub, that's what it was called. So I feel like a lot of people came more so to eat. And even those vendors, like the trucks, they didn't get a lot of traffic like I think they were expecting. So it was a bummer, but I feel like it was definitely because it was cold outside. Like I talked to some of the other vendors that were in the area, and they were saying like typically this event would do like really well. Not saying that I didn't do well. Like I feel like I did extremely well, especially given the circumstances. Like I had a ton of sales. I met new people. I was able to network with other vendors. I was able to network with the host of the event, kind of, not really, but just like a little bit. And it was nice for the most part, but I will say there's some things that I would have liked to consider before doing a big pop-up. So that's what I want to share today. So as you've probably come to watch, are big craft fairs worth it? Let's get into it. So first things first that you want to consider is how many vendors will there actually be at the market, the craft fair. So for the market that I just went to, it was around 49, 50 vendors there, which is, I feel like that's pretty big. And I don't think some people came, so it may have been a few less nonetheless, but it was a pretty large event. That being said, people, when they go to these events, they likely come with a budget in mind because they know there's going to be a lot of vendors. So they create a budget to not overspend. Not saying that everybody does, but the vast majority does for the most part. Like they'll come with either cash or just like a set amount on their card that they want to spend. That being said, some people, they'll get their limit really fast. So with me, it was, where I was located was kind of like at the very front, but depending on where you come in at, it could have been the very back. So I had some people who like, they saw me and I was the very first vendor that they saw. And with that, they would kind of just like see my stuff, be like, oh, this is so cute. Be like, I'll circle back, I'm gonna keep looking. And then they'll go and they'll like come around and go to all the other vendors, and then they'll circle back to me. But about time they come back and circle back to me, they've gotten food, they may have picked up like something else from like other vendors, like more like apparel, whereas I'm like jewelry and accessories. And I had a couple people or a few people tell me like, I only came with so much money, but they would ask me when my next pop-up was. That's where business cards came in handy. So just be mindful that big craft fairs equate to people having access to a lot of vendors. So their attention span is kind of gonna go like here, 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 here. So especially if you don't have more like a middle setup and you're at the front or at the end, it can kind of be tricky because people will likely have spent their money. But I feel like there's still a way to network with that, like giving them your business card so they can give you a follow. They can maybe like shout you out. Like a lot of people did that for me, and I'm blessed with that. Nonetheless, like that's still support. So definitely see how many vendors are going to be there. Are you okay with it being that many vendors? So there's likely going to be less attention on you, even if you have a phenomenal booth. Like I got a ton of compliments on my booth. Like a lot of people were drawn in to like the all pink and everything, but still, like with a lot of vendors, people are going to want to go see, and depending on what they came there for specifically, they might get pulled into another direction and end up spending the money that they came with, which is fine. With that, on that note, I will say to really see how many people or how many vendors are going to be there that are selling the exact same things that you're selling. So if you're selling jewelry, how many businesses are going to be selling jewelry? If you're selling apparel, how many people are going to be selling apparel? So this specific event that I went to, it was about like 4, 5, 6 vendors that were all selling like vintage clothes. And in my opinion, that was just too much. Like if there were 3 and I was one of those vendors, I probably wouldn't want to go unless I knew that it was something specific that made my brand stand out from the others. So that's another thing to consider. How many vendors are going to be selling the exact same things that you're selling? Next is, how long is the event going to be? So for this past event that I worked, it was about 5 hours, 11 to 4, that's 5 hours, right? So yeah, 5 hours, but I had to come early to set up. So I got there to set up around like 9:30, and it took me about an hour and 15 minutes to set up. So that's something to consider, like how long are you gonna be there? That's a long stretch of time, especially if you wanna eat, if you are alone, not using the bathroom. Like not luckily, but I'm grateful that my family was able to come by and just cover my booth for like a split second, and I was able to go use the restroom around like 2. But that was, I went a long time without using the bathroom. So that's something to consider too. Like, are you able to go long stretches of time without food or, using the bathroom? You have a little bit of time to maybe take a quick snack or something, but you don't have a whole lot of time to sit down and eat, especially if you want to be really present and greeting all your customers without like food in your mouth. So something to consider. Location is another huge thing. So for this specific event, it was downtown, but it was at a museum called Exploration Place, which is more so like a kids museum. So it was a lot of families that kind of walked through the market, I would guess, like after they went to Exploration Place, which was fine. And it actually worked out in my favor because a lot of the little girls liked the all pink and the colorful things that I had in my booth. So that was just reassuring to see like little girls like loving, like my products and stuff. So just take into consideration where the event is located. If it's downtown, if it's in the country, if it's in like a plaza or something like that, like are your ideal customers going to be in that location? Let's talk about money, a vendor fee. Vendor fees can really be a huge chunk of a risk. So this past event that I was a vendor at, the vendor fee was $90. That was pretty steep in my opinion, especially since I didn't really have the gauge on like how many people were going to be there, what type of event it was going to be. I knew that there was a lot of vendors, and with a lot of vendors, you normally equate that with a lot of people coming. But sometimes like you can have slow days, like how it was just cold, so it was a slower day. So there wasn't as much traffic at all. Was that $90 worth it this past time? No, like it was more than 10% of my sales. And to me, that wasn't worth it, especially because the people weren't really there. In the sense, so I think that the event was worth it, but the $90 is just, like you win some, you lose some, like, yeah. Community engagement and networking is huge at events like this. So going back on my last statement saying that it wasn't worth it, it definitely was worth it for that community engagement and networking and just getting my name out there and being able to talk to other vendors and also meeting some of my subscribers and followers in person. Like that was so humbling and just reassuring. It made me just feel so happy and warm inside. Like, oh, I'm so blessed to have the community that I do and to be flourishing in this community. So I'm thankful for that. And that was a huge plus for this big market. Like big market, a lot of vendors, got to network with them. And then I met a sprinkle of my followers and subscribers. So that's definitely something to consider as far as if a big market is worth it. Self-discipline is a huge thing also while being a vendor at these huge events. So you're going to see things that you like, likely. you have to be disciplined and either set a budget for how much you can spend on food, clothes, whatever that you want to buy, or you just be disciplined and not buy anything. So for me, I did a really good job with not buying anything. Like my husband, he was able to bring me some food. He went out to buy me some food, so I guess that's a kind of like a loss, but he went to get me some food. At the end, I did treat myself to some pumpkin bread. I know. If you've never had any pumpkin bread, don't say anything, because that was me about 2 years ago. Until Mama Owens made me some pumpkin bread. Pumpkin bread is good when it's made right. So I got some pumpkin bread from a local baker, and it was good. It was pretty good. So that was like my treat, my little reward for myself after a long day. And that was $7, so I really didn't take much out of anything of what I made for the day. All in all, as far as if big craft fairs are worth it, I feel like it really depends on your business goals. It's like, what are you willing to sacrifice with these big events? Like, there are some pros and there are some cons, but do the pros outweigh the cons? For me personally, I think that the pros definitely outweigh the cons. I actually had a pretty decent amount of sales given the type of day that it was. So for me, I think that it was completely worth it. And I honestly would consider going to a big craft fair again. If this helped you out in any way, please go ahead and like it. If you are interested in more small business content, craft fair content, pop-ups and stuff like that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment with another thing to consider as far as like markets, or just say hi. I'm so glad that you were able to watch today. See you later. Bye.